What is up, friendos? It's Utaushio here, or Steven, depending on your pronunciation. And this video is a guide talking about 10 useful tips and tricks that you may not have known about in Spelunky 2. Most of these tips range between beginner and intermediate levels of play, and it's entirely possible that you already knew about some or all of them if you've been playing Spelunky 2 for a while. But with Spelunky 2 coming to the Nintendo Switch this summer, I wanted to make a guide for anybody and everybody who is just jumping in for the first time or who needs a bit of a refresher. All of these tips and tricks are practical and useful game to game and may help make your life a bit easier. I also tried to pick ones that are less obvious and less commonly known to shed some light on the more hidden mechanics. Quick self-plug before the real content, come hang out in my fun and fancy Discord and mash that like button so I can quit my job and play video games with the world. Link in the description below. Let's go. If you make it far enough in Spelunky 2's labyrinth of traps and enemies, you will eventually come across giant purple mech suits being piloted by either aliens or Olmites. These mech suits spawn in the ice caves on floor 5-1 and in the first 3 floors of Neo-Babylon. Like turkeys or rock dogs, the mech suits act as mounts if you manage to remove the pilot, and you can use them to fly around extremely slowly. They'll also detonate in a huge explosion if they take too much damage, but these aren't the tips. The 2 things I didn't realize right away about the mech suits is that the punch attack you get from pressing the whip button will actually completely destroy blocks, allowing you to clear a potentially safer path in front of you. And even more importantly, pressing and holding down on your D-pad or joystick and then pressing the whip button will actually cause the mech suit to fire a plasma cannon blast for even more devastation and path clearing. This was a unique feature that was also present in Spelunky HD, but again, if you're new to the game, this definitely wouldn't be something that's obvious. Both the Spectacles item and the Hedjet item in Spelunky 2 have some pretty obvious uses. Immediately upon picking up Spectacles, you will notice that you can see gems and even hidden items buried in the level walls, while claiming the Hedjet will allow you to wield the Excalibur weapon or enter the City of Gold later on. A more well-hidden feature of both of these items, however, is that they will greatly illuminate the screen on any dark levels that you come across, making it much easier to see your way without needing to carry that dang torch around. If you hate dark levels and have some extra cash laying around, it might be helpful to be prepared and get your hands on one of these items. Hired hands are the lovable man-slaves in Spelunky 2 that most of us have come to despise and fear due to their impeccable ability to accidentally murder us with their erratic movements and aggressive behaviors. The AI has been getting progressively better since launch, but they definitely still present a danger to a run. In a solo run, however, hired hands can be quite useful for carrying multiple items through levels, since they can pick up and carry things from level to level as you progress. Little known fact about the hired hands is that they actually become more loyal and slightly easier to work with as you successfully clear more levels with them. The maximum trust for most hired hands requires clearing 3 levels, but as you clear 1, 2, and eventually 3 levels, the hired hands will allow you to whip them more frequently without angering them, carry them in your hands longer before jumping out, and they will even sleep for significantly longer if you pick them up and then drop them back down. By now, most players will know that you can safely walk in spikes that would otherwise instantly kill you, as long as you've lowered yourself slowly and carefully into them without falling too far or fast. This can be done by climbing down with a rope, or by slowly falling using a cape or turkey's slow fall ability. What you may not know is that you can actually safely lower yourself into spikes using the new Hoverpack backpack item and the climbing gloves as well. Simply repeatedly tapping the jump button in midair to rapidly toggle the Hoverpack on and off will in fact safely lower you down into spikes, and clinging to the wall over and over again to slowly drop down with climbing gloves is actually also safe. In Spelunky 2, there are a variety of helpful backpack items that you can wear on your back to hopefully make your spelunking mission a bit easier. Every single backpack item comes with the drawback, however, of potentially being destroyed and blowing you up with them if they take fire damage, which makes sense. Even shotgun pellets, which aren't fire damage, will cause backpacks to explode if they take a direct hit, but let's be honest, that also makes sense. Since not all damage sources detonate backpacks, however, it seems strange that a simple arrow would also cause a fiery explosion, yet here we are. The explanation I've seen is that the arrow is sharp enough to puncture a backpack and also cause a spark that ignites the fuel, which is an explanation I'm okay with. Either way, be cautious of arrow traps from behind you if you're wearing a backpack item. In the tide pool path, the player will no doubt encounter some annoying octopus enemies. Getting sprayed with the octopi's ink will significantly impair the player's vision, which can be very frustrating, but luckily it's pretty easy to fix. Jumping into water after getting inked will immediately clear the ink and the player's vision, which shouldn't be too hard either since water is very common in tide pool. Fun fact, spectacles will also negate the effects of being inked. Just another good reason to pick them up. The pitcher's mitt item is useful for aiming your throws more accurately, especially if you have paste and you're trying to stick things with your bombs. But I also recently found out that the pitcher's mitt allows you to automatically catch items as well. The catch doesn't work with everything, so it won't protect you from arrow traps or large projectiles like flying bodies, but you will safely and automatically catch skulls or rocks out of the air. I can honestly say I've died countless times from both skulls falling out of bone blocks or rocks being launched at me from explosions, so it's actually a way more useful perk than it might seem initially. This is a very well-known tactic if you've been playing for a bit, but if you're a beginner to the game, it might not be so obvious. Climbing gloves allow you to cling to and climb or descend walls, but they actually allow you to climb one block higher than you normally would be able to jump to without them. Without any other items, you can usually only jump up to a spot that is one block above you. But with the climbing gloves, you can actually grab the bottom of a second block above you and climb up, allowing for slightly greater vertical mobility in certain situations. This tip sounds obvious, and it is definitely another beginner tip, but it's still extremely useful to know if you didn't already. In addition to their other effects, both spring shoes and spike shoes will protect the player from damage from walking on the blocks with the small spikes on them in the jungle. Usually touching these thorny platforms will deal 1 damage to the player. And even with the shoes, the player will still get hurt touching these platforms from the sides or from above. But if they're donning either pair of boots, they can safely walk on these platforms with no issue. The boots will also protect the player from getting hurt by jumping on top of an octopi's spiky head in tide pool. The final tip of this video is another pretty basic tip, but it is absolutely essential for beginners. It is hotly debated which item is the best in Spelunky 2, but no matter what your opinion is or who you ask, everybody will universally agree that the Jetpack is one of the best. It has a limited amount of fuel that can be replenished by landing on the ground, but other than that, it provides unrestricted flight. If a player simply jumps and then continues to press and hold the jump button in midair, the jetpack will fly them straight up until they run out of fuel. However, if the player rapidly spams the jump button in midair instead of holding it down, the jetpack will be much more fuel efficient and they will be able to fly significantly higher and for much longer before needing to land and refuel. Alright, thanks for watching everybody. I hope if you're new to the game that you found these tips helpful and informative, or if you knew all of them already, I'm just glad that you stopped by and took the time to support me by watching the video. I love making guides to help improve the overall experience of games for people who are struggling, and if you enjoyed the video, please feel free to check out some of my other guides or gameplays. As always, if you enjoyed the content and want to see more guides, do me the solid of mashing the like button, comment to say hello, and most importantly, hit that subscribe button so you always know where to find me. I hope everybody has a fantastic day. Happy spelunking!